So what I want to do today is, in this scene, I want the player to enter through this doorway. When he reaches the stairs, I want the AI to take control, to walk him up the stairs, to position the character exactly where this character is here, and then to play the key code animation. Which should look like this when it is positioned correctly. So in order to do this, you will need certain assets. One is this console, one is the keypad, and one is the animation. If we look here, so from Sketchfab I've downloaded this console. From TurboSquid I've downloaded this keypad door lock. And from Mixamo I have downloaded this entering code animation just on the Y-bot. Pressing this and downloading with skin, or downloading the Y-bot first without skin. Once you have got the animation, say this animation here, it's just a question of just need to retarget the animation. So right click on the animation to retarget animation, and I'm using Quinn skeleton. So it just picks Quinn, and you can preview what the animation will look like. And then just export the animation to whichever folder you would like to store it in and give it a name. So I've just called it Quinn entering code. Now that everything is been downloaded, then I've just simply set up this scene so we get an idea of how it's meant to look. The main issue is how to get the character into the exact right position so that the animation is correctly positioned for the character's animation. So what I'm thinking is we will maybe try to create an actor which will allow us to position the key code to the skeletal mesh. So if we go here and just create an actor, call this our BP, so our BP keypad. This shall be the keypad. So open that. We can add a static mesh. And we can give it the keypad. Now I've sort of made a bit of a mistake in importing it. It's come through very small, so we'll increase the size of it. What we can do is see in this mock-up what we used. So we used, maybe just copy this. And we can copy the rotation. Copy and paste. We probably want it facing down the x-axis. And we also will need to set its height. The other thing is, if we just add a skeletal mesh with Quinn, this should help us maybe in positioning everything. So if we look here, okay, and we raise this. And if we have Quinn play an animation, so use animation asset, and we can use the code enter that we created from Mixamo. Let's see how that looks. Bring that down a bit. And in terms of distance, doesn't look too bad. See what it would look like from a camera angle. Okay, that seems relatively okay. So we can save that. We can then use the position of the static mesh to try and position the character based on the keypad. So we go back to the level, and if we bring this down here, see if we can replace the mock-up with this. So cross. And if we simulate not too bad. So a keypad. Okay, maybe we should hide the original keypad. False. And the original skeletal mesh. And if we simulate this again, see what it looks like. Okay, so if we can get our player character to be moved by the AI into this exact position and then play the animation, it should appear perfectly aligned and seamless. So next, let's create the trigger box next to transition from player control to AI control. Create another actor. Enter code. Trigger. Basically all we need in here is some kind of box collision. And we can make that maybe and bring it up. We want to do this the other way around actually, so 50, 150. So it's along the X vector. And then we will do an onComponentBegin overlap. We will check if that is equal to the player character. And branch. How is this going to work? Obviously this needs to trigger something to instruct the player to get controlled by an AI and to move towards a particular keypad. So we probably want to link the keypad to this enter code trigger. So if we create a reference in here, which is to a BP keypad, what have I got two? Just rename that code keypad. So there we go. So we have a reference here. We'll make that instance editable. So now these two can be linked. Obviously we need to make sure that is valid. then this has to trigger something on the player. Now I've created, our player is called our keycode character, who is just a duplicate of the third-person game character that comes with the template. What I'm thinking is maybe we could just create a component to add to this character, which would then allow us to attach it to any other character or even to export and use it in a different project. So let's go here and let's create an actor component. This will be our AC actor component for keypads. So when they enter the box, that information will be sent to this component to begin all the transitions. So if we create a custom event and say trigger keypad transitions. And we'll probably want some information. So one, we'll want the actual keypad. Object reference. From this, we can get the location where we want to move to. And that would be this skeletal mesh. So wherever this mesh is located is where we want our player character to end up in the world relative to the keypad. We just rename this and just call it just the reference skeletal mesh. So here we can say get reference skeletal mesh. We can get the world location of this and promote that to a variable. So this is the target location. So then we want to get the AI to move the player to this target location. But before it does so, one, it will need to disable further input. So it might be worth creating a function here, which will be change player input. We can maybe just create an input to say whether it's to be enabled or disabled. So it'd be bool enable. And then we can use the player controller. So get player controller. Every component is attached, has an owner, which is generally an actor. So we can say get owner. And we should be able to say disable input. Or enable input. Yep, that's right. Player controller, and this will be a branch. So if it's enable, it enables it. If it's disable, it disables it. Because we don't want to be able to control the character while the AI is moving him. So the first thing we do here when we trigger the transition is we say change player input, enable is false, so that will disable. Next we want to do a move to this location. So custom event, move player via AI to target location. And the way this will happen is we will use simple move to. So we'll need to get our owner. Now, can we do that on the owner? Not sure. Simple move to actor. The actor object reference. No, it's wrong. Simple move to location. So, simple move to location. And what that requires is a controller. Now, the controller that we want to use to execute this simple move to is actually the player controller, because that is our main character. We don't need to use an AI controller, so we can use our same controller. Our goal, well, we've got the location here, so that's the target location, which we've set. We can put that there. And if this works, our player, they should move to that location. So after here, we could say move player via AI to target. Now if we go back to our key code character and we add this actor component, so that's added. Now we go back to the box collision actor, which will trigger. And what it will do is, as long as it has a valid keypad, it knows that the actor that we've overlapped is the player. From the player, it can get component by class, because this component will be on the player character who is overlapped. The name of is the keypad component. We can make sure this is valid. And if it is valid, we can call the function transition. Trigger keypad transition. And the keypad is this. So if we go back to our level, one thing we will do is we will, in the actual keypad, we will say that this is hidden in game. There's no need for it to be visible. Now we take our enter code trigger, maybe we bring it out to around here in front of the stairs. And let's see what happens. So we'll play, we'll run in. Nothing got triggered. Okay, the problem here is that in order for this to work, we do need to actually add a nav mesh. That's how the AI will navigate. So if we go back here, quickly add to project. So for nav mesh bounds volume, add that, and make it big enough. So 30, 30, 15, or just 10. Press P to see what it's covering. It's obviously not everything. Move it across, make it, make that bigger, 30, 30. So now it's covering, and there is a navigation link all the way up to the spot where it needs to be. So if we try playing again, I enter. Why is that not triggering? Oh, that's because we haven't actually set the keypad, have we? So it's failing. So if I go there, and in the keypad reference, if I choose the keypad that we've added, save everything, and play. Now I let go, and he walks up to that position. See, now I've got no input because we disabled it. In order to make it clear that we are no longer in control, maybe we could add a material to our player when that happens. So if we go back to the AC or actor component, change player input, when we disable input, we can get our actor. Can we set overlay materials here, or go to cast? So we want to add the overlay material to the actual mesh. See, an actor, we know that our owner will be a character, so we can cast to character. From there we can say get mesh, that will get us the skeletal mesh, and from there we can say set overlay material. Now we need to create an overlay material so the character is highlighted when the AI takes over control. So I'll go there, so M overlay, the key code. We'll want this to be translucent. Press 3 and click. We can then set a color. Let's make it green. I think you can just put that into emissive. See what happens. So apply, save it, go back to our actor component, and we'll choose that overlay character when input is disabled, and when see if that works first. So let me enter. Let's just go and make sure we've saved this material. And now if we play again, we lose control. Yep, so we then turn green. See, that looks a bit silly. What we can do is maybe create a Fresnel and just multiply this. Don't know why it's taken so long to apply changes. So now you get this kind of rim around. We might need to play with the opacity, but first let's have a look. Okay. And maybe that can go in the opacity as well. These shaders have taken forever. So what we actually did is we piped the Fresnel directly into the opacity. I've changed the exponent in from 4 or 5 down to 2. And now we get this rim with a clear center. So the way that it looks when the AI takes over is like that. You can see the green rim. Just for completion's sake, we should probably copy and paste this, so when we re-enable input, we'll just remove the overlay material. I think there is a remove by setting it to, by clearing it. And we'll cast that to character. Question is our player ending up in the exact same position? If we go back to our key code character, instead of hiding him, we'll change his collision. So no collision. Okay. Let's see what if we end up in the same location. So if I eject, you can see that actually we're not in the same position. So our AI is moving him, but stopping quite a distance away from where the character, our player, needs to be. Now the reason why that is happening, I think, is because in our character we have a capsule overlap. And the moment the capsule overlaps the target location, the AI seems to stop. But you need a capsule in order for there to be navigation. So what we need to do, now if we just change the capsule radius from 34 down to a really small number like 0.1, and now do it, AI takes over, we eject. Now you can see that we're pretty much in the right location. That's probably as close as this AI will get us to the exact location. So what we might need to do then is just shift our player very slightly to the precise point. There's two ways of doing that. We can just snap the player there. I don't think we can make that any smaller. 0.1, 0.1. Seems to be as close as this AI will get us to the exact location. So what we might need to do is in the pad here, is when this move to is over, we'll just need to move the component to the exact location they need to be. So as we can see, our character is not quite getting to the exact location. So he kind of stops about a meter, half a meter or a meter away. What we need to do is to move him into this location. So as I said, we can either snap it or we can try there's another node known as the move to component. So if we go back to our keypad here, this is the end of the simple move to location. Now just the reason why we use this and not AI move to is because this requires an AI controller. And our player character, doesn't have an AI controller because it has a player controller. And we don't want to have to unpossess the player controller and then create an AI controller and go through that approach. So this makes it a little bit easier from that perspective. But as I said, it reaches only so far and seems to be off slightly, even if we do make the capsule size extremely small. What we should do though is also make that capsule size small as part of the actual move. So before we move to here, we should create a function, say change capsule size. And we can just say B for moving. So when we're moving, we want to make it very small. And we can, again, get our owner. We can cast character. We can get capsule component from the character. Or we can say set capsule radius. So the radius we can select based on whether we're moving or not. If we are moving, we want to make that 0.01. And if we're not, we can simply put it back to what the default value is. Which is 34 for our character. We could store that to begin with, so we always have it's probably worth just having a reference to our character as well when we on begin play. So we can get owner. as character. So original capsule radius scaled. Now here we can just get as character. Capsule component. If we're moving, well, very small. If we're not, we'll take the original, put it back to the original value. And when it comes to the moving, this is when we want to change capsule size. So we will call change capsule size for moving true. So if it's true, it'll make it small. Let's just check that. Okay. Now back in our component, we need to know when we've actually reached as close as we're going to get. So how do we go about that? So before we go any further, let's see if we can find any obvious problems, because it doesn't really make sense that we would be so far away. It moves up these stairs. I mean, the one thing we notice, so if you press P, you can turn the nav mesh on and off. The one thing that is obvious is that the nav mesh, there is no nav mesh in this area, so something is blocking navigation. And that would partly explain why, even though the capsule radius is so small, we're not getting to this location. So in terms of what could be doing that, well, if we go to show collision, we can see some of the collision. Okay. Well, one obviously issue seems to be this keypad. So this was our mock keypad. We've made it invisible, but still it has collision and it's blocking. So what if we just move that one out of the way? So that slightly helps. The other thing we can do is we can take this and this, and we can type in nav, and it says can ever affect navigation. If we turn that off, so we end up with a slightly better here. How about the actual keypad itself? Can affect navigation. Still. So now it seems as though it should hopefully be better. Should we just try that again? If we go run through, up, and we enter. Now we have a look. So our player is much closer now, almost exactly where they need to be. So that's good. So we can turn off the show collision here. Back to our keypad. So now our player is moving essentially to the right location. Perhaps we just want to make sure that he's perfectly where he needs to be. So we can use there is a move component 2 node. And that needs a component to move and a target location and a target rotation and a time at which it completes the last part to ensure that he is perfectly positioned. So we want our player character here. So we've got our owner, our character. The component that we want is the root component, essentially the capsule. The target relative location, because it's a capsule, the relative location is the world location. We'll start off with this, though we might need to tweak it. And the rotation I think should be 0, 0, isn't it? I'll say to do that over 0.5 seconds. Okay, so that was... Obviously we don't want to do it straight away. We need to make sure that first he's reached the location where he needs to be. So how can we do that? You should see just how... So what I've done is I've written a function here which will take our character, check the distance between the character and the target location. But instead of the distance, it will just check the distance 2D because we only want to know on the X and the Y rather than on the Z as well. And it will print that out. We go back, connect this. And disconnect this. So as you can see in the top left, he's getting 3.39, just under 4 units away, which is quite close, but not perfect. So we can check that once the distance is less than 4, we can activate the final move part. So we could do that on a timer. To a custom event, check AI move complete. We can copy some of these. We can just put this as actor actually, as character, because we have a reference. And we can check if this is less than 4. If that's true, we can do our final move too. And if it isn't, we can just put a little delay. And say check again. And here we will start it all off, check AI, move 2. There it goes. Okay. So the rotation is wrong. And you notice that it went into the ground. And that's to do with the capsule. So if we look at our character himself, this is the capsule. The center point is here, and the capsule height. And there is a half capsule height, which is 90. So we need to add 90 to the target location. So we take this, and I think this needs to be 90. Weird. Also 900. 90. So if we look now, as you can see, the distance between in the top left is now 0. And the two are now essentially in just the right location. Brilliant. So we could put this into a function, I think. Distance to target location. Put that as a pure function. Let's just clean this up a bit. So we could just try. What could we do next then? Okay, if we so now we've got him to go to the correct location. I mean, I suppose at the end of it we could even just play the montage now, see if it works. So as character, play montage. So where you've created the animation, you can turn that into a montage. So just by right-click the animation and say create anim montage, which I've already done here. And we can slot that in there. We can hide in the game. And play. Walks. And plays the montage. At the end of it, we should actually, once this is finished, so again, we can just do a delay for the length of the montage. And then we can say change player input to enable input. There we go. And play. And now we have input back. It's better to do this with a level sequence so you can also get some camera angles, because that's what we don't have. So that's what we'll do next. So to create our level sequence, we will first bring our character into the scene. This is our keycode character. Let's find him. Bring in and position exactly .90. So as close to same location as that should be okay. Then in the actual, we'll hide this. We don't need to hide him, but now we'll create the level sequence. So go up here, say add level sequence. We'll call this, we'll add this to our keycode tutorial. Level sequence, enter key code tutorial. And the first thing we'll do is we'll add our character, the BP keycode character. Add our keycode character. The animation we want to play is so we'll add the animation, click on the character mesh, and go for the code. In order for this to work, we'll need to disable to mute the control rig. Now if we play, so there's the animation. And there he goes. To bring him closer. So once we've positioned our character, and he seems to be reasonably well positioned, good, we can maybe also add a camera. So if you go and click here where it says create new camera, set it as the current camera. Now everything seems a bit blurred, so you can click on the camera, go to the details, and look for focus. Which should be somewhere here, I think. So camera settings, focus settings. Click that and just click where you want to focus. So now let's see how that looks. I wonder if this is long enough. So the animation is obviously longer than this. How can we make that? So we can take this all the way here to the end of the animation, extend the camera view all the way there, press F to focus it again, and if we go back and play, go back, let's have another look. Okay. You can read, you keep adjusting the position in this animation, but what will happen is this animation, our character will move into that position and then this camera cut will play. So if we save that and close it, and if we take our character here and just move him back to the start position, drop him to the ground, and instead we'll tell them just to possess. So if you go to the character, type in possess, it will say auto possess player. We will say player 0 when it's placed in the world. Save everything and let's play. Oh, what we need to do though over here is instead of playing the animation montage, we will create a level sequence player. Create level sequence player. The level sequence we will use is the one that we created here. Enter key level sequence. And if we take the return, we can bind to the onFinish. So we say bind onFinished. When this is finished, we can create a custom event. So finished, enter code level sequence. And at that point, we can restore control back to the player. And the only thing we have to do here is just, or from the level sequence player, we can say play. So now this time, instead of the montage, it will play using the level sequence player. So we run this again, we go in, goes up, then the level sequence player starts, we enter our thing, and it goes back, and we should have control. Why not? Now we've got to, so we have to bind it first, and then play. Go. And we have control again, and our player is back where he should be. As an extra, if you want to blend the camera, the way that you would try to do that is go back to your level sequence, open the level sequence, and essentially up here in the camera cut, it's almost impossible. First of all, you go to the camera cut and click on right click and say Cam Blend. Now if you look here, there's a little flag. It's almost very difficult to grab. You need to grab hold of this. And this will blend the camera, so we could blend it in. Over, say, a second and a bit. Save that. So this will blend the camera from the player camera to this camera, level sequence camera. See what that looks like. I'll go, move into position, and the camera blends. So that looks a bit strange at that one point there. And that's because it's playing some default animation. It's playing the start of its own animation, whereas we had stopped in an idle animation. So if we go back to our level sequence, what we can do is we can add. Now I know that the idle animation for the character is the idle. So we can add this, and we can blend these two together. Make the idle shorter because we don't need that to run more than that. So if you put that back there, move that across. So Did that. It's not bad, but so here you can blend out of one and try to blend into the other. So that was blending the camera in. We could also blend the camera back out. So back to the level sequence. And at the end, we can also grab that little and maybe try to blend it out about there. And there we go. So that's the camera blended in and blended out using the level sequence. Of course, you can make little tweaks here and there to better position it or to improve the animation. But that is the fundamental framework one can use.